In society.
The Hashbury is the capital of the hippies, San Francisco. In 1965, Berkeley was the axis of what was just beginning to be called the New Left. Its leaders were radical, but they were also deeply committed to the society they wanted to change. A prestigious faculty committee said the Berkeley activists were the vanguard of a moral revolution among the young, and many professors approved. Now, in 1967, there was not much doubt that Berkeley had gone through a revolution of some kind, but the end result is not exactly what the original leaders had in mind. Many one-time activists had forsaken politics entirely and turned to drugs. Others have even forsaken Berkeley. During 1966, the hot center of revolutionary action on the coast began moving across the bay to San Francisco's Haight-Ashbury district, a run-down Victorian neighborhood of about 40 square blocks between the Negro/Fillmore district and Golden Gate Park. The Hashbury is the new capital. Barking dogs. Animals. The Hashbury is the new capital of what is rapidly becoming a drug culture. Its denizens are not called radicals or beatniks, but hippies. And perhaps as many as half are refugees from Berkeley and the new North Beach Sea, the cradle and the casket of the so-called Beat Generation. Berkeley and the North Beach Sea. The other half of the hippie population is too young to identify with Jack Kerouac or even with Mario Savio. Their average age is about 20, and most are native Californians. The North Beach types of the late 1950s were not nearly as provincial as the Haight-Ashbury types are today. The majority of beatniks who flocked into San Francisco 10 years ago were transients from the East and the Midwest. The literary artist nucleus, Kerouac, Ginsberg, etc., was a package deal from New York. San Francisco was only a stop on the big circuit. Tangier, Paris, Greenwich Village, Tokyo, and India. The senior beats had a pretty good idea what was going on in the world. They read newspapers, traveled constantly, and had friends all over the globe. Ooh. Man, this is heavy shit. Heavy.
The word hip translates roughly as wise or tuned in. A hippie is somebody who knows what's really happening and who adjusts or grooves with it. Hippies despise phoniness. They want to be open, honest, loving, and free. They reject the plastic pretense of 20th century America, preferring to go back to the natural life like Adam and Eve. They reject any kinship with the Beat Generation on the ground that those cats were negative, but our thing is positive. They also reject politics, which is just another game. They don't like money either, or any kind of aggressiveness. A serious problem in writing about the Haight-Ashbury is that most of the people you have to talk to are involved one way or another in the drug traffic. They have good reason to be leery of strangers who ask questions. A 22-year-old student was recently sentenced to 2 years in prison for telling an undercover narcotics agent where to buy some marijuana. Love is the password to the Haight-Ashbury, but paranoia is the style. Nobody wants to go to jail. At the same time, marijuana is everywhere. People smoke it on the sidewalks, in donut shops, sitting in parked cars, or lounging on the grass at Golden Gate Park. Nearly everyone on the streets between 20 and 30 is a head, a user, either of marijuana, LSD, or both. To refuse a proffered joint is to risk being labeled a narcotics agent, a threat and a menace to almost everybody. With a few loud exceptions, it is only the younger hippies who see themselves as a new breed. A completely new thing in this world, man. The ex-beatniks among them, many of whom are now making money off the news scene, inclined to the view that hippies are, in fact, second-generation beatniks and that everything genuine in the Haight-Ashbury is about to be swallowed, like North Beach and the Village, in a wave of publicity and commercialism.
It's like they forget the beats entirely. Wow. Head Street. The great white way of what local papers call hippie land is already dotted with stores catering mainly to the tourist trade. Few hippies can afford a pair of $20 sandals or a mod outfit for $67.50, nor can they afford the $3.50 door charge at the Fillmore Auditorium in the Avalon Ballroom, the twin wombs of the psychedelic San Francisco acid rock sound. Both the Fillmore and the Avalon are jammed every weekend with borderline hippies who don't mind paying for the music and the light shows. There's always a sparkling and a sprinkling of genuine, barefoot, freaked out types of the dance floor, but few of them pay to get in. They arrive with the musicians or have other good connections. Neither of the dance palaces is within walking distance of the Hashbury, especially if you're stoned. And since only a few of the hippies have contacts in the psychedelic power structure, most of them spend their weekend nights either drifting around on Hay Street or loading up on acid, LSD, in somebody's pad. Some of these rock bands play free concerts in Golden Gate Park for the benefit of those brethren who can't afford the dances. But beyond an occasional happening in the park, the Haight-Ashbury scene is almost devoid of anything to do, at least by conventional standards. And at-home entertainment is nude parties, at which celebrants paint designs on each other. There are no hippie bars, for instance, and only one restaurant above the level of a diner or a lunch counter. This is a reflection of the drug culture, which has no use for booze and regards food as a necessity to be acquired at the least possible expense. A family of hippies will work for hours over an exotic stew or curry in a communal kitchen, but the idea of paying $3 for a meal in a restaurant is out of the question. Some hippies work, others live on money from home, and many are full-time beggars. The post office is a major source of hippie income. Jobs like sorting mail don't require much thought or effort. A hippie named Admiral Love of the Psychedelic Rangers delivers special delivery letters at night. The Admiral's in his mid-20s and makes enough money to support an apartment full of younger hippies who depend on him for their daily bread. There is also a hippie-run employment agency on Haight Street, and anyone needing part-time labor or some kind of specialized work can call and order as many freaks as he needs. They may look a bit weird, but many are far more capable than most temporary help, and are vastly more interesting to have around. Damn straight. Yeah, these hippies that don't work can easily pick up a few dollars a day panhandling along Haight Street. The fresh influx of curiosity seekers has provided a great boon to the legion of psychedelic beggars. During several days of roaming around the area, I was touched so often that I began to keep a supply of quarters in my pocket so I wouldn't have to haggle over change. The panhandlers are usually barefoot, always young and never apologetic. They'll share what they can collect anyway, so it seems entirely reasonable that the strangers would share with them. Best show, Haight Street. Best show
You're going, yeah, right there. And you're going to that line. Okay, best show.
The best show on Haight Street is usually on the sidewalk in front of the drugstore, a new coffee bar at the corner of Masonic Street. The drugstore features an all hippie review that runs day and night. The acts change sporadically, but nobody cares. There will always be at least one man with long hair and sunglasses playing a wooden pipe of some kind. He will be wearing either a Dracula cape, a long Buddhist robe, or a Sioux Indian costume. There will also be a hairy blonde fellow wearing a black Bart cowboy hat and a spangled jacket that originally belonged to a drum major in the 1949 Rose Bowl parade. He will be playing the bongo drums.
Sounds like some Jimi Hendrix.
Next to the drummer will be the dazed-looking girl wearing a blouse. but no bra, and a plastic miniskirt, slapping her thighs to the rhythm of it all. These three will be the nucleus of the show. Backing them up will be an all-star cast of freaks of every one of them stoned. They will be stretched out on the sidewalk, twitching and babbling in time to the music. Now and then, somebody will fall out of the audience and join the review. Perhaps a Hell's Angel, or some grubby chain-draped imposter who never owned a motorcycle in his life. Or maybe a girl wrapped in gauze, or a thin man with wild eyes who took an overdose of acid 9 days ago and changed himself into a raven. For those on a quick tour of the Hashberry, the drugstore review is a must.
To the good doctor.
Fly away with the good doctor's work.
Smoke one for the doctor.
Change yourself into a raven.
Yes, yes.